After our family reunion I checked my account. $50,000 was gone. My brother-in-law laughed. We needed it more. I grabbed my bag and said, then you'll love what's next. The door opened and they went pale. After a weekend-long family gathering, I returned to my small apartment in Seattle completely exhausted. Everything seemed normal, at least until I opened my banking app to transfer money for the electric bill. My eyes went blurry at the number on the screen, $83.52. I checked it 3 times, then again, certain it wasn't a glitch or my tired eyes playing tricks. Just 2 days ago, I had over $9,000 in that account. I felt the blood drain from my body. My heart pounded like someone was knocking from inside my chest. With shaking hands, I immediately called the bank. After a few security questions, the rep said, the transactions were made from a device previously logged in, same IP address, as a personal computer. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and drove straight back to my mom's house, the same place that just hosted our biggest family gathering of the year. I still couldn't shake the images of everyone hugging and laughing from my mind. And yet, just hours later, I stood there again in the old kitchen I grew up in, reaching for a glass of water from the cupboard, my heart still reeling from shock. You're back already? My sister Amanda's voice floated in from the living room, casual and carefree like nothing had happened. She sat on the couch with her legs crossed, holding a glass of red wine, not the slightest hint of concern on her face. I just checked my account. I tried to keep my voice steady, but the tightness in my throat betrayed me. Nathan, my brother-in-law, walked out from the kitchen holding a soda can. He leaned against the fridge, looking half amused, half dismissive. Oh, that? Nathan smirked. We needed that money more than you did, Alyssa. It hit me like a slap across the face. I froze, stunned, unable to form a single word. Amanda chuckled softly, shrugging like I was overreacting. Don't be so dramatic, she said. You've got a good job. No debt. No kids. You live alone. I turned to my mom. She was sitting in the corner knitting, her expression as calm as ever. Mom, did you know about this? She sighed, not looking up. Her voice was gentle, like I'd just complained about the soup being too salty. You're always so sensitive. You have more. What's wrong with helping a little? I turned to my dad who was glued to his phone. He mumbled without looking up. Don't use harsh words. It's family business. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But how did you even get into my banking info? Amanda shrugged. I used Mom's computer and saw your account was still logged in. If you didn't log out, she said it like I was the one at fault. Like what they did was perfectly justified. My hands clenched, nails digging into my palms. My heart was racing. Nathan shrugged like this was all no big deal. It's not like we bought luxury stuff, rent, groceries, just to survive. Otherwise, we'd be starving. I looked at them, all of them. Not one apology. Not one guilty look. Not even a proper explanation. What did I do to deserve this? I whispered, though no one seemed to care. Amanda tossed her hair back and mumbled, you can earn it back. Don't be so dramatic. I slowly picked up my purse. No one stopped me. No one asked if I was okay. My mom only said, out of habit, don't forget Sunday dinner. I walked to the door, heart pounding, empty inside. But before I left, I paused at the doorway, hand on the knob, then looked back. If you think I'm just gonna let this go, wait and see what happens next. Amanda giggled. Oh, please, you're being so theatrical. Honestly, Alyssa, we needed that money more than you. Don't be selfish. I didn't respond. Outside, it had started to rain, and inside me, another storm was quietly building. I drove through the rain, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The traffic light ahead was red, but my mind was spinning with every cold word I just heard. We needed that money more than you. No remorse, no apology. It felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I didn't want to go home yet. I needed air, so I pulled into the parking lot near Green Lake Park where I usually jog on Saturday mornings. I turned off the engine, sat in silence, and reopened the banking app. That number was still there, just as shameless and cold as Amanda's face. I couldn't say I was completely surprised. I had just hoped. When I was 27, I got hired as a marketing manager at a major pharmaceutical company. While I was still adjusting to the job and new life, Amanda called. Hey, my phone got cut off. Can you spot me some cash? I didn't think twice. They were family, right? Then came Nathan, unemployed for nearly 6 months. Just need a few hundred to get by until I find something, he said. I stayed quiet. 1 year, for Haley's birthday, Amanda sent me a suggested gift list. The cheapest item was over $200. I wanted to say no, but then my mom called, her voice sweet. You're not getting anything for your niece. She's so excited. You're better off than the rest of us. And just like that, I became the first person they called for money troubles. Amanda got a new car. I chipped in on the down payment. Nathan lost his wallet. I wired money that night. Mom's electric bill overdue. I dipped into savings. Every time, all they had to say was, you're the most stable one in the family. They never once asked, are you doing okay? Never stopped to think. I had days where I counted every dollar, skipped vacations, or put off buying things for myself. A few months ago, I turned down a vacation with my best friend because I used that money to help Nathan with rent. They said it like a compliment, but now I realize it wasn't gratitude. It was an unspoken declaration. It's your job. The rain kept falling. I turned on the radio, hoping the noise would calm the ache in my chest, but nothing could soothe the feeling of being seen as a tool. Not a daughter, not a sister, just a credit card with a heartbeat. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Amanda said you're upset about the money. Don't make a big deal, sweetheart. We're family. Family. Why did that word feel so heavy now? I used to think if I just stayed patient, generous enough, they would realize, maybe say thank you or at least ask how I was, but they never did, because in their eyes, I didn't need help, and the one who doesn't need help is expected to help everyone else. I took a deep breath and opened my notes app. Every payment I ever made, every late night call, every time I denied myself for them, I started writing it all down. Not to ask for it back, but so I'd never forget, never let myself be put in that position again. The rain began to ease. Pale sunlight peeked through the gray clouds. I sat up straight, hands on the wheel. This time, I wasn't looking back. That night, I returned to my apartment, still reeling from Nathan's words echoing in my mind. We needed that money more than you. No apology. No explanation. Just pure, unbelievable entitlement. But what truly kept me up wasn't the lost money. It was the family's complete indifference in the face of it. I couldn't let it go, and I didn't plan to. The next morning, I called the bank and requested a full transaction report from the past 10 days. The file was 17 pages long. I printed it out and marked every suspicious charge in red. One anonymous transaction caught my eye. Almost $2,800 from an IP address that matched my mom's house. Yes, I'd used a computer there before, but never logged into my bank account and just left it open. I had only checked email in my calendar. Someone in that house had accessed it, remembered my info, and waited for the right moment. That weekend, I returned to Mom's house like it was a casual visit. The roast smelled the same as always, but the air was thick with tension. Amanda sat at the head of the table avoiding my eyes. Nathan was overly relaxed, pouring lemonade like there wasn't a fire burning under the surface. I didn't waste time. I reviewed all my transactions, I said, placing the paperwork on the table. My account was accessed from Mom's computer. I was here that day, yes, but I didn't log into my bank. So who took the info? No one answered. My mom kept her head down, picking at her salad like I just asked about the weather. Dad sat in silence behind his open newspaper. Only Amanda spoke, her voice small, but laced with sarcasm. You left it logged in. It's not like we hacked into anything. I looked straight at her. So you admit it? Amanda shrugged. I just saw it open. You didn't lock it, and it's not like it's the first time you helped. I didn't agree to this time. Nathan set his glass down with a soft clink. You're always so dramatic. This isn't stealing. It's helping each other. It's family. No, I said firmly. Helping is when someone asks and the other agrees. This was taking without asking. My mom finally looked up, her voice gentle like she was explaining something to a stubborn child. Alyssa, you live alone. Have a good job. No burdens. Amanda's raising a child. Nathan's still figuring things out. Family is about sharing, and sharing means quietly draining my entire savings. My voice began to tremble, not from anger, but from pain. My dad folded his newspaper and looked up, visibly annoyed. Don't be so harsh. You've always been the strongest one in this family. You know no one else could handle it, so everyone trusted you. Trusted me? I let out a dry laugh. Stealing personal information and emptying my account? That's what you call trust? Why not just call it what it is, taking advantage? Amanda slammed her hand on the table the first time she lost her cool. We didn't splurge on anything. It was for rent, medication for Haley, car repairs. I'm exhausted. You're exhausted. What about me? I looked at each person in that room. The people I once called family. I was exhausted too. When I worked 60 hours a week to pay off your debt, when I canceled my vacation just to keep Nathan from getting evicted, when I ate instant noodles for 3 weeks to help Mom pay the utility bill. I've been tired for a long time, but I never complained because I thought I was doing the right thing. But, clearly, all I did was enable everyone's selfishness. No one said a word. Only the ticking of the kitchen clock filled the silence. I stood up, grabbed the folder in my purse. Before leaving the room, I paused and looked at Mom. If this is how you treat the only person who never asked for a single cent, don't be surprised when I start taking back what I deserve. Nathan let out a mocking laugh. What are you gonna do, Alyssa? Call the cops? I looked him straight in the eye, my gaze steady. Just wait and see. Then I walked out of the house I once called home for the first time without a trace of regret, only a rising sense of resolve in my chest. I got home just as dusk settled over Seattle. The air felt thicker than usual, heavy with the fury still brewing inside me. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and pulled out a file folder. I had kept receipts, messages, transfers, email confirmations, even screenshots from years ago. Not because I was paranoid, but because I knew, someday, my quiet sacrifices would need proof. I began organizing everything. From the very first payment, $92.50 for Amanda's phone bill 3 years ago, to the biggest one, $3,200 wired to Nathan for an urgent issue. I had full bank statements, email confirmations. Over 3 nights, I built a spreadsheet categorizing each expense. I color-coded everything. Green for medical, yellow for living expenses, red for the ones with no justification. Like the $1,350 Nathan spent on a gaming console last Black Friday. I remembered it clearly because I had to skip a winter trip with coworkers just to make my insurance payment. On Monday morning, I went to the Financial Crimes Division downtown, bringing all the printed documents, a USB with a spreadsheet, and a completed complaint form. A young officer named Harper took my case. She flipped through each page, nodding as she read, "We'll begin a preliminary investigation under financial fraud and unauthorized access to personal information. Do you have names of the individuals involved?" "I do," I said, handing her the list. "Amanda Walker, Nathan Walker, Donna Grant, my mother, Paul Grant, my father." I left the precinct under gray skies, but with a flicker of light inside me. Not because I wanted them punished, but because I finally stopped staying silent. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday afternoon, I was in a Zoom meeting when an unknown number called. I muted the call and stepped onto my balcony to answer. It was Harper. "Miss Alyssa, we've completed the preliminary investigation. We have sufficient grounds to move forward. The investigative unit will visit the individual's residences today." I froze. It wasn't satisfaction I felt, more like relief. After all these years, someone finally saw what I had endured. That night, while I was preparing dinner, my phone rang nonstop. First Mom, then Amanda, then Nathan. I didn't pick up. The text started pouring in after, "Call your mother now." "What are you doing, Alyssa? Did you really call the police?" I didn't respond to any of them. An hour later, I got a text from an old neighbor. "There are 3 people in jackets labeled Financial Crimes Unit outside Donna's house. They asked about you too." The next day, I arrived at work early. As I stepped into the elevator, I caught a few curious stares from coworkers. Then my manager approached me. "We received a call from a local reporter asking to verify a financial investigation linked to your name," he said, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. "We didn't confirm anything, but if you need time, just say the word." I smiled softly. "It's okay. I'm doing the right thing." That evening, I sat by my window watching the lights glow from the surrounding apartments. Amanda's words still echoed in my head. "I swear, this family only survives because of you." Yes, they survived because of me, but they never saw me as a person, just a wallet, a tool. And now, that tool had said enough. I opened my journal and wrote one line. "I am not the family bank. I am Alyssa." For the first time, I saw my name on a page not tied to a bill or a money transfer, just my name, a person, and freedom. Finally, within reach. The first message came that Monday morning as I was getting ready for work. My phone screen lit up with a familiar line. "Call me, Mom." I didn't open it. An hour later as I poured coffee, her voicemail came through. "Alyssa, this is going too far. I know there's been misunderstandings, but you don't have to take it this far. Can you please call me back?" I set the mug down, a chill running through me. Her voice was the same, soft, gentle, as if everyone by noon. Amanda sent a long text. "My bank account is frozen. I can't pay Haley's tuition. I don't know what to do. You win. Okay, are you happy now?" That last sentence made my skin crawl as if this was a game I started, as if they were just unwilling players dragged into it. But I knew the truth. I wasn't trying to win. I was just done enduring. The next day, Harper called with an update. "Alyssa, we've confirmed the amount withdrawn and misused. Amanda is now under investigation for unauthorized transfers. Nathan is implicated in withdrawing funds from an unapproved device, and your parents used part of the money for illegal mortgage payments, which could be subject to recovery." Oh, I didn't know how to feel. Part of me hurt, not because of the consequences they now faced, but because they still didn't understand how it ever came to this. That night, Nathan called repeatedly. I blocked his number. Less than 10 minutes later, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. "Alyssa, please, I've been suspended from work. They're investigating my accounts. I can't lose everything over one mistake. Can't you say something to help me?" The arrogance, the mockery, the laughter from before, gone, replaced by thinly veiled panic. But I didn't flinch. Thursday morning, I got a message from my dad. He rarely reached out, so even one line made me pause. The bank sent a foreclosure warning. If we don't pay in 30 days, we lose the house. I read it over and over. No apology. No admission. Just a cold statement and a faint hope that, like always, I would step in to fix it. I didn't reply. But that night, standing by my window watching the street lights spill across the glass, I thought of all the times I skipped lunch to wire Mom money on time. The dates I canceled because Amanda called me in tears. I'd given not just my money, but my peace. This time, I wasn't going back. That weekend, I drove toward the Edmonds shoreline, a place where Dad and I used to go fishing every summer when I was little. No one knew where I was. No one asked how I was doing. The same people who called me their lifeline now only reached out to salvage the damage they caused. Mid-afternoon, my phone lit up again. A message from Mom. "Alyssa, I'm begging you. I know I was wrong, but if we lose the house, I don't know how I'll survive. Please don't abandon me." I stared at the screen for a long time. That message made my chest tighten, but not from guilt. From the realization that even now, she was thinking about the house, not me. No one asked if I was okay. I set my phone down and stepped onto the sand, letting the ocean breeze blow away the heaviness in my chest. I knew I had entered the hardest part. The part where they'd call me cruel, ungrateful, even destructive. But also the part where I was no longer expected to carry what was never mine to hold. I looked out at the vast water. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about bills, money requests, or late-night calls. I was thinking about me and the peace I was finally starting to feel, piece by piece. 3 weeks later, I filed for an extended leave of absence. Without telling anyone, I packed everything neatly into a rented car and left Seattle on a gloomy Wednesday morning. driving across the state like I was shedding the old skin of a woman smothered by unreasonable expectations. I arrived in Boulder, Colorado, a small town I had passed through years ago on a work trip. Back then, I only had a few hours to wander around the downtown area, sip coffee in a cozy cafe with soft jazz and warm yellow lights, but the calm I felt that day stuck with me. Now, it became the place I chose to begin again. I rented a small studio apartment overlooking the mountains. White walls, big windows catching the morning light. Within days, I bought a new desk, filled vases with fresh flowers, and for the first time in years, I didn't have to clear space for someone else's needs. I changed my number, told my company I'd be working remotely for an indefinite period. And strangely enough, once I stopped being drained by my family, my energy returned. I slept better, ate regularly, and when I sat at my desk, my mind felt clearer than ever. Just 2 weeks after settling in Boulder, my boss, Julian, called. "Melissa, I just reviewed your new strategy plan. It's brilliant. Have you considered taking over as regional coordinator for the entire West Coast?" I paused for a moment. A year ago, if I had heard those words, I probably would have said no because I still had to worry about Mom, about Amanda, about Nathan. But now, I looked out the window where sunlight was sparkling through the pine trees and answered firmly, "I'm ready." Julian chuckled. "I knew you'd be the first person to come to mind. Congratulations, Alyssa." When the call ended, I made myself a cup of tea, curled up in a knit blanket on the balcony, and let the breeze run gently through my hair. I had done it. I had pulled myself out of that cycle. The cycle where I was always the one giving and no one ever asked, "Are you okay?" No more late-night messages. No more desperate calls like, "It's just a loan. I'll pay you back by the end of the month." No more checking my bank account every morning in quiet panic. Now every message I received was from people who truly cared, co-workers, old friends, or a few new ones I'd met through yoga classes in Boulder. No one asked for money. They simply asked, "How are you feeling today?" or "Want to grab dinner tonight?" I hadn't just found freedom. I had found myself again. One afternoon, I went back to the coffee shop from years ago, sitting at the same table by the window. The shop owner still remembered me faintly. "You've been here before, haven't you? Weren't you the one who asked about the jazz track I was playing that day?" I laughed. "That was me. And now I live here." He pointed outside the window. "This place heals a lot of people." I nodded. There was nothing more that needed to be said. That night, I wrote in my journal, "I spent my youth guarding a door for a family that never wanted to come in to see me, only to take what was inside. Now I've locked that door, and I'm keeping the key for myself." This new life wasn't loud. There were no cheers, but it was quiet. And to me, that was the most luxurious thing I had ever owned. Didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if Amanda might call one day, her voice trembling. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going back. Not because I didn't love them, but because I'd learned to love myself first. One crisp fall morning as I watered the plants on my balcony, my phone pinged with a new email. I didn't look right away. But a few minutes later, sipping my tea, I opened my inbox and paused at an unfamiliar name, Melanie Carter. It took me a few seconds to place her. Melanie was Amanda's cousin-in-law, someone I had only seen briefly at a couple family gatherings, a quiet girl who always stayed in the background and never spoke up. I hadn't even known she had my email. The subject line read, "Thank you, Alyssa. Curious." I opened it. "You probably don't remember me well. I'm Melanie, Aunt Grace's daughter. Amanda once asked me to babysit Haley one summer, and you drove me home after Haley's birthday party." I stayed silent for years, thinking I didn't have the right to speak up. But after learning what you did, how you stood up, how you drew a line, I could not send this message. I sat frozen. Every word she wrote felt like a drop falling into the still pond inside me. I was stuck in a similar cycle. My family always said I was luckier, so I had to give more. I worked 3 jobs at once and still had to send money home for my mom, for my brother. And when I tried to say no, they called me ungrateful and selfish. But after hearing what you did, how you chose yourself, it felt like someone lit a path I didn't know existed. You helped me realize that saying no isn't cruel. It's self-protection. It's preserving the most precious thing, yourself. I sat there quietly, hands wrapped around a now cold cup of tea. Outside, the wind rustled golden maple leaves, sending a few tumbling gently to the ground. But inside me, something had quietly begun to bloom. It wasn't pride. It wasn't vindication. It was the feeling of being seen, of being understood. Melanie wasn't the first person to say something like this. A few weeks earlier, an old college friend had texted me after reading a few lines I shared on my personal blog. "I used to think you were just really strong, like you didn't need anyone. But now I get it. You were so strong that everyone assumed you'd be fine no matter what." I had read that line over and over again because for years, I never asked to be heard. I stayed quiet, held it all in, but no one had ever taught me that kindness doesn't mean letting people cross your boundaries. That night, I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and typed a reply to Melanie. I never imagined what I did would inspire someone like that. "Thank you for having the courage to share. I know that's not easy, but I want you to remember, you're not alone. You're not selfish. You're just learning to love yourself the right way, and there's nothing wrong with that." I hit send, and in that moment, something became crystal clear. I used to think I had lost my family, but the truth was I was redefining it. From people who love without conditions, who give without expectation, and who respect others as full human beings. The next morning when I pulled back the curtains, sunlight poured into the room like a gentle blessing. I took a deep breath, feeling nothing heavy on my chest anymore. I was no longer the old Alyssa, the girl who always stepped aside, who always stayed quiet for fear of upsetting others. Now, I was Alyssa who knew how to say enough, who knew when to walk away when someone didn't value her. And the most beautiful part, I wasn't alone. Because out there, somewhere, people like Melanie were finding the courage to step out of the shadows. And if my journey could light even a small part of their path, then every bit of pain I had endured was worth it. On Sunday afternoon, I strolled down the cobblestone path that led to the nearby park where the maple trees were changing leaf by leaf from green to gold to fiery red. A little girl rode her bike, hair flying in the wind, while her mother ran behind her laughing and calling, "Slow down, sweetheart." I paused for a moment, holding a paper cup of coffee, watching them like a scene from a living painting. That image stirred something in me, something I had lost in recent years, a sense of lightness. I used to think I had to do everything to make my family proud. I worked tirelessly, saved every penny, gave up vacations, small dreams, just to earn a good daughter label or a nod of approval from my mother. But they never stopped to ask, was I tired? Did I need someone to listen? They just needed me to be strong. And when I stopped, when I stood up and said no, they called me ungrateful. I used to fear that. I feared being seen as selfish, feared losing the blood ties I fought so hard to preserve. But now that the dust had settled, now that the midnight calls and circular blame had gone quiet, I realized something so simple. It hurt. I didn't lose my family. I had just found myself. And that person, the Alyssa I am today, no longer lives to please anyone but herself. I started doing the little things I once put off. I learned how to cook risotto, my favorite dish that I never had time for. I bought a bright red dress, the kind I used to think was too much for the office. I signed up for a Saturday pottery class just because the feeling of clay in my hands made me feel alive. I reorganized my apartment, hung a giant abstract painting in the living room, not because it matched one day. I received a postcard from Kelly, a former co-worker who had moved to Italy. On the back, in neat handwriting, it read, "You showed me what it means to set boundaries without guilt. Because of you, I finally had the courage to move to Rome, something I dreamed of since I was 20, but never dared to do. Thank you, Alyssa." I placed the postcard on my desk among the small things that carried big meaning. A stone I picked up on my first hike in Colorado, a jar of dried flowers, and the leather journal I was still writing in. They were all tiny pieces of me, an Alyssa who no longer lived to prove anything to anyone. I no longer hoped for my family to understand. I didn't wait for an apology call from Amanda or a surprise message from my mom. Maybe one day they'd look back and understand, or maybe not. And either way, that's okay. I used to think love meant holding on tightly. Now I know sometimes love means letting go. Letting yourself and others be accountable for their own choices. When you stop trying to be so kind that you erase your own limits, you'll realize the people who truly value you will never ask you to burn out for them. I still remember a quote from some writer. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. And when I stopped burning for their expectations, I realized the warmest light doesn't come from sacrifice. It comes from the peace of living true to who you are. On that leaf-strewn path, I walked slowly. No rush, no escape. No. Melissa's story is a powerful reminder that you are not obligated to sacrifice yourself just to preserve a relationship labeled family when it lacks respect. When you set boundaries and choose yourself, you're not being selfish, you're living truthfully. Not everyone will understand that, but the peace you find will be worth it, because sometimes walking away from family isn't a loss. It's the first step toward reclaiming your true self and your real worth. What do you think about Eliza's choice? Was she right to put herself before family obligations? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt real-life stories.